Hello everybody, my name is Luchara, and this is my guide to the warriors in Teamfight Manager. We're going to talk about what each one does well, what each one does poorly, some matchups it's good into, some matchups it's weak against. Anyway, let's get into it with the fighter. The fighter is a jack of all trades, master of none. He has an attack of 20, an attack speed of 1.18. The attack is a little low, but the attack speed is quite high, so it will dish out some damage for you. Not outstanding, but it'll do some damage. Defense 40, HP of 190. Those are about middle of the pack amongst the warriors. So he can take a bit of a beating, but it's risky to take the fighter as your only frontliner. If you have a chef or a priestess, cook or priestess, we'll be able to keep him alive probably, but if you don't have a healer, he can go down a little quick. Speed of 7, that's fast. That is the fastest amongst warriors. This skill right here, though, this skill is why you're taking the fighter. 4.5 second cooldown, kicks an enemy with great strength, stunning them, then pursues and attacks them. So that's great. It's CC. CC is really big in this game, really important. His ultimate's also good. Levitates all the enemies off the ground within a fixed range in the surrounding area. This has a pretty big circle, and it does a pretty good damage as well. It's a pretty solid ult. So where do you want to take a fighter? I like him as a secondary tank. You take him with a more damage-oriented warrior, such as Swordsman or Magic Knight, generally. Another thing he combos really well with is Dual Blader, because she will chain her CC off of his ability here. That's the stun, which is great. He's really good. I like taking him against when you have an enemy frontliner that you want to CC, such as, like, say, for example, a Berserker. Berserker can't attack and therefore can't lifesteal if they're CC'd, right? Plague Doctor. You don't want them using their ability if you can help it. CC them. Right? Fighter, Dual Blader, done. Yeah, there's nothing he's really particularly weak against because, like I said, he's a jack of all trades, master of none, just a solid pick. Generally speaking, there's usually something better you can take depending on what you want. But if that thing is banned, the fighter's probably going to be a pretty good backup. I generally don't prioritize fighter a whole lot, but when I do take him, I'm rarely disappointed. Fighter, just a solid unit. That's all there is to it. All right, next on the list is the Knight. Has an attack of 21, an attack speed of 0.67. Neither of those are particularly good. You're not taking the Knight for damage, though. You're taking it for tankiness. Defense of 60, HP of 200. Those are both really solid. You can definitely take the Knight as your only frontliner. She can survive, particularly if you have a healer with her. This skill, too, is why she's really good. Taunts an enemy for a period of time, forcing the enemy to become its own target, increases defense. That is a 4.2 second cooldown. That's not too bad. If this comes down in a patch, this cooldown time, Knight will be really good. So this taunt is, it's good against everybody. CC is good, but it's really good against assassins, particularly. They can keep the assassins off your backline long enough for your backliners to kill the assassin. And her ultimate greatly increases defense of all allies for a fixed amount of time. This doesn't last forever, but it lasts for a while. This is really good in combination with other ultimates where you want your team to survive. They get the full effect of their ultimates, such as Bard, Poison Dart Hunter, Necro, even. So you're not taking her for the ultimate unless certain specific combinations. You're taking her mostly to taunt and for her tankiness. She's probably my favorite pick as your only frontliner. If I'm just picking one frontliner, I'm hoping to get Knight, generally speaking. She can be blown up if they have, say, Swordsman or Boomerang Hunter, something, or just good single target damage in general. Sniper. She can get shredded fast, particularly if you don't have a strong healer. But if you have a strong healer and the Knight, you can just take whatever your two favorite damage dealers, and that combination will probably do well, in my opinion. The Knight is just a great pick if you only want a single frontliner. And you can put a second frontliner with her, don't get me wrong. Knight Swordsman can do great. This ability, for the record, does not combo with Dual Blader. So she's not great with Dual Blader, but she's just a great all-around unit. Great as your only frontliner. Knight is one of my most played champions in my entire time in Teamfight Manager, and I'm never upset when I have to take Knight. take Knight. It's great. Next up is the Swordsman. Swordsman has a base attack of 15 with an attack speed of 0.83. These numbers are very deceiving. If you look at this, you would not think the Swordsman does a lot of damage, but the Swordsman does do a lot of damage. Range 45, that's actually pretty good. Defense 30, HP 130, that is pretty squishy for a warrior. Speed of 6 is solid. So let's look at this skill. 3.8 second cooldown, which is fairly low. Uses an attack that reduces the enemy's defense. And it also does damage. And I assume it's quite a bit of damage because, like I said, Swordsman does a lot of damage, especially considering these stats here, right? And the ultimate is good. Let's talk about the ultimate. Swiftly moves in a straight line and slashes all enemies in the path. To say swiftly moves is an understatement. It's basically goes from one side of the ring to the other. And this ult, it's good. It can completely wipe a team, but it can also sometimes only kill one person and then put the Swordsman out of position and he dies. So it's basically a 1-for-1 trade. So it's a very high risk, high reward ultimate. Like I said, can wipe, but not. So when do you use Swordsman? First of all, you generally speaking do not want to use Swordsman as your only frontliner. He is not tanky enough. I'm talking 4v4 here. In 2v2, Swordsman can frontline, right? Because there's way less damage coming in. But in 4v4, even if you have a priestess or a cook, generally speaking, your Swordsman's not going to survive long enough. But you put him with it. Basically, any other frontliner, he's going to do well. But some, of course, are better than others. I like him with Berserker, for example. Good, solid, double damage dealing frontline, right? I like him with Plague Doctor. Plague Doctor buffs his damage. They do a lot of damage together. I like him with Shield Bearer. Shield Bearer really makes sure the Swordsman lives long enough to do what he needs to do. And stuff you want to avoid taking him as your only frontliner, and you're fine, generally speaking. But of course, if you're taking more than one frontliner, you want to avoid heavy AoE, or maybe even ban it out. You know, Pyro, Boomerang Hunter, Lightning Mage, Poison Dart Hunter are all solid AoE. You don't want to go against those if you have Swordsman. But like I said, fantastic as a second frontliner, particularly against tanky frontlines on the other side. Knight, Shield Bearer, right? Because he can shred their defense and you can actually kill them. But one other note is Swordsman, generally speaking, seems to get nerfed pretty heavily in game. So keep an eye out for that. But if he doesn't, absolutely use Swordsman. He's a great unit, particularly in 2v2. But he stays useful the entire length of the game. And the Berserker. We're actually going to talk about his skill, which is a passive first, and then we'll go back and talk about his other stats. So his passive is, as HP decreases, other stats increase. Receive HP absorption effect when HP falls below 40%. So as he gets closer to death, his other stats go up. So his base attack is 6. Obviously, that's terrible. His attack speed is 0.63. That's pretty slow. His defense is 10. That's pretty low. HP 220. That's good. I don't think that one goes up. I think it's just the defense, attack speed, and attack that go up as he gets lower. Speed of 3, that's low. He's slow. We'll talk about that. He is slow. But we also need to talk about his ultimate. So increases all stats significantly for a period of time. Receives skill effect regardless of HP left. So he always gets this lifesteal, this HP absorption effect when he's ulting. One of the best ults in the game, in my opinion. Plain full stop. Unless it's countered by heavy CC, it will wipe the other team. 100%. So, we want to avoid CC. Not only for the ultimate, and I'm talking Lancer, Executioner, Ice Mage, Lightning Mage, can completely shut down a Berserker ult. And also, you don't want too many CCs against Berserker just in general, because if you CC and he's not attacking, he doesn't get this lifesteal. But if he is attacking and he gets this lifesteal, he can be hard to kill, particularly against, low damage tanky comps on the other team. You will win that trade because, they'll just slowly kill each other, and then the Berserker will get stronger as his HP goes down, and then he'll start lifestealing, and he will win that trade 100%. So he's great against other tanks. Avoid CC. You want to support the Berserker, generally speaking. You don't need support, but support is great. Healers are okay with him. Like, it's good and bad because you don't get this stat increase once he gets back up to full. He's particularly good with Barrier Mage, though. Because Barrier Mage, if he's, say, down to 20% health and a Barrier Mage barrier hits him, well, he's still hitting like a truck, and then he'll heal back up to 40% while the barrier's up, and he'll still hit like a truck, right? Barrier Mage is great. Bard's solid. Plague Doctor is very good with Berserker. Plague Doctor and Berserker. Chef's Kiss. Like I said, though, you want to avoid CC. You want to avoid heavy damage comps. Like, you know, if they don't pick a single frontliner, you do not want your Berserker running around trying to get their backliners one by one because he's too slow, especially if they have CC. But they have multiple tanks. Watch out. Shield Bearer, another good combination with Berserker, I should mention. Very good combination with Berserker. I like Berserker a lot. I've played it a lot. It's good. Try it if you haven't already. All right, let's talk about the Magic Knight. Attack of 35. That is really high. Attack speed of 0.74. That's pretty solid. 50 range, so she has a little bit more range than most. 30 defense, 130 HP. That is the same as a Swordsman. And if you remember, that means she's pretty squishy for a warrior. So you do not want her to be your only frontliner. Again, you can get away with it sometimes if there's a priestess or, you know, a cook, if you have really heavy heals, but I don't like it. I don't like doing it. It's risky. And 4v4, 2v2, you can definitely get away with it. Anyway, her skill, 5-second cooldown. It's pretty long. Cast a spell that attacks all enemies in a straight line. This is a pretty good ability, actually. It has pretty good range. She uses it fairly smartly. It tends to hit a lot of people, generally speaking. So she's good to take against multiple frontliners on the other team, or if they have, say, a Boomerang Hunter or even Poison Dart Hunter, you know, backliners that do like to be close, it will hit them. It will do a lot of damage. She does a ton of damage, potentially, especially if she gets buffed. And if this cooldown comes down, look out. Her ultimate is creates an area that pulls surrounding enemies into the center. It's pretty solid. If there's a full team there, it lasts long enough that you're going to get the full wipe out of it. But sometimes what happens is she'll use it. There's 1 or 2 enemies there, they die, and then they respawn on the other side of the map, and it does nothing else. So it's an okay ult. It's not great. This ability and this high base attack are why you want her. But again, you want to take her with another frontliner. You know, Shield Bearer is great. Her and Swordsman will just chew through things. Berserker's solid. You want to avoid taking her into really heavy damage, obviously. Another good match with her and with Swordsman, or anytime you have multiple frontliners, Barrier Mage is great. Something else to look out for. She's just a solid damage dealing frontliner, essentially. So take her in that situation. Simple as that. All right, the Shield Bearer. Good old Shield Bearer. You can build some serious teams around the Shield Bearer. Let's just talk about his stats, though, first. 20 attack, 0.67 attack speed. You're not taking him for damage. No, you are not. 60 defense, 220 HP. That's why you're taking him. And this passive. He's got 4 speed, little on the slow side. Nothing too serious, though. Receives part of the damage an ally is supposed to receive within a certain range in the surrounding area. So it's a pretty big circle, as you can see here. But, and this is what's interesting about him. So he's tanky enough that he can be your only tank, your only frontliner. You can get away with that. But then you're not really taking advantage of the passive, generally. I mean, you will have situations where he is near your backliners, right? So that's why I think Knight is my favorite solo frontliner. You can use Shield Bearer, but he's better with a second frontliner just because they get this passive. Or, I mean, you can choose to keep everybody close together and hope to get the passive. And actually, one good combination is Boomerang Hunter. Boomerang Hunter's range is so low that he will need to get up into this circle. And obviously, Swordsman, Magic Knight, Berserker. Berserker's really good, actually. Any of the damage-dealing frontliners are good with him. Or even another possible combination is having him, Plague Doctor, and multiple damage-dealing frontliners just in a ball. As long as they don't have a lot of AoE, that strategy can absolutely wreck. Especially assassins. Because there's no squishies to assassinate, right? I've used that strategy in assassin metas before, and it's worked fantastically. His ultimate taunts all enemies in a wide area. It is a wide area. Gain defense and crowd control immunity. Nice. Skill AoEs increase to the ultimate AoE size. So basically, this passive covers, it's almost the whole arena, right? So he's good with other frontliners, but he can be a solo frontliner. Go to Boomerang Hunter. Poison Dart Hunter actually sometimes can get up close enough to get in the circle, but I like him. He's good with Swordsman. He's good with Magic Knight. Go to Berserker. Berserker in particular is one of my favorite combinations with him. You go Shield Bearer, Berserker, and then you can do 2 damage dealers, or you can do a throw Barrier Mage on top of that. Good luck killing your Shield Bearer and your Berserker, right? Anyway, Shield Bearer, one of my favorites. Very flexible. Very flexible. Can't go wrong. Very low damage though. Just be careful you have enough damage if you take Shield Bearer. And we have the Lancer. Good old Lancer. 21 attack. 0.91 attack speed. That's pretty solid attack speed. But Lancer doesn't do a whole lot of damage. Although, to be fair, I have seen Lancer get buffed in attack before. And she put out pretty good damage. That is a she, right? Whatever. Doesn't matter. 58 range is high. That's almost as high as like Boomerang Hunter, for example. So she can kind of... It comes in play with this skill. We'll talk about skill in a sec, though. So 35 defense, 170 HP. So she's not as tanky as a Knight or Shield Bearer, but she is tankier than, say, a Swordsman or Magic Knight. But you can get away with her as your only tank, as your only frontliner. But I would generally recommend having a second. But you can get away with it with a healer in particular because of this ability. 3-second cooldown, swings a spear, and pushed enemies in a certain range. So basically, as you can see, it pushes enemies away, right? So because of that, once they're away, because she has extra range, she can hit first, right? In that frontliner versus frontliner, her extra range just allows her to get that little bit of extra damage in, right? But this ability, this push, it is great against something like a Berserker, because Berserker's a little on the slow side, and he wants to be attacking, so he can heal. If you push him away, you can't do that. But where Lancer really shines is anti-Ogre. Absolutely just wrecks Ogre's day, because Ogre is so slow. We'll talk about Ogre in a minute, but just completely destroys Ogre. And let's talk about her ultimate really quick too. Pushes enemies in a certain range very far and immobilizes all the enemies, right? So again, anti-Ogre, anti-Berserker. This can completely shut down a Berserker ult. And you will also want to take her with generally with range damage dealers, Marksman, Archer, Gambler. Is great with Lancer because, she pushes them away. They're still picking away at them, right? But yeah, Lancer, healer, 2 marksmen, or mages. Actually, Ice Mage is an interesting combo because, it's a lot of CC. It's hard to get in there. But yeah, great against slow tanks. Or slow anything, really. Great counter pick. She's not somebody I've used a whole lot, but she is absolutely fantastic counter pick. So keep your eye open. If there's a lot of Ogre, a lot of Berserker, keep your eye open for her. Alright, so Dual Blader. Dual Blader is a very solid unit that's very good in certain situations. So let's talk about the Dual Blader here. 30 attack, 0.83 attack speed. Those are really solid numbers. 45 range, solid. 40 defense, 130 HP. So she is ever so slightly tankier than the Swordsman Magic Knight, but 6 speed, she's pretty fast. You're generally going to want a second frontliner with her, and I know I sound like a broken record. I've said that about a lot of these frontliners, but it's true. And maybe that's just the way I play, but I like to have multiple frontliners, unless it's something like the Knight. Anyway, we're talking about the Dual Blader right now, and she is all about this ability, this skill. 2-second cooldown, but we'll talk about the cooldown because it doesn't really matter. Charges and attacks an enemy that is unable to move and levitates her off the ground. So the key with this is this unable to move clause. She cannot use this ability if you do not have other CC on your team. And not all CC counts. The Knight taunt doesn't count, for example, but Archer, Ogre, Clown, Executioner, Fighter, Ice Mage, anything that roots or stuns them in place is amazing with this because she'll dash in, knock them up. So it's basically chain CC, right? So they cannot do anything for a long period of time. And basically, if you have more than one CC, you know, she'll use this on one. Then if your other character CCs, this is a low cooldown, right? She'll pop in and hit the other one as well. I'll talk about her ultimate right quick. Throws swords multiple times and deals damage to all enemies in its projectile. So it's pretty good. I've gotten full wipes off this ability, but I've also got very little value out of it. It's a lot. It's like a lot of other alts in this game. It's very hit or miss, but it's pretty solid. It's rarely a complete whiff, right? But it's all about this skill. And again, you just want to take her with other CC, the ones I mentioned. And that's really all there is. So if you got to watch out for the ones that don't count. Gunner is a slow, doesn't count. Night Taunt doesn't count. Lancer Push Away doesn't count, right? But anything stuns, roots, Lightning Mage is another one that does count. So combine her with those and you're set. She can do a ton of damage for a frontliner if you get the right comp. She is worth building around, especially if she gets buffs. Watch out if she gets buffs. Anyway, that's the dual blader. One left. The Ogre. Save the, I don't know about best for last, but it's probably the most interesting. Here's Big Ugly. Ogre, 65 attack, but only 0.5 attack speed, right? But that's crazy attack. 45 range, so he can swing the club from pretty far away. 30 defense, not super high. It's the same as Swordsman, for example. But 250 HP, so it's pretty tanky. But here's the thing. 1 speed. 1. Okay? And let's talk about his passive, which is his ultimate. He doesn't have an ultimate. Fixes movement speed at once. You can't even buff this movement speed. Okay? Every time it's attacked, though, max HP increases by 1. So it can get really, really tanky. So let's talk about his ability right quick. 3-second cooldown, fairly low. Strikes the opponent with force and stuns. Okay. So again, CC is great. Combine it with other CC, dual blader, boom. Great. But we need to talk about the speed. I mean, look at them. Look at him. Look how slow he is. So how do you build around the Ogre? First of all, you want to avoid CC on the other team. If he has heavy CC, do not take the Ogre. Particularly Lancer is particularly nasty against Ogre. If you're planning to take Ogre, probably want to consider banning Lancer. Just a thought. And you want to avoid Ice Mage, you know. Like Archer's not as big a deal because your Ogre's probably not going to be next to an Archer very often. But Lancer, Ice Mage are the big two. Fighter kind of sucks as well. So yeah, but some things he's good with. I personally like him with Berserker because Berserker's only 3 speeds, so they're fairly slow. So basically what'll happen is, as long as you have 2 backliners that are going to stay back, the enemy will have to come to you, right? Another good combo. So let me back up for a sec, actually. Generally speaking, you want a second frontliner with him, right? Because he's so slow, if you don't have a second frontliner, the enemy team might just ignore him and go kill all your backliners, right? And he's just going to chase them around and never catch them, right? But if you do have a second frontliner, Berserker is one I like. But you can take whatever you like. Healer can keep him alive, obviously. But Shadowmancer. The Shadowmancer ability, basically, just very quick, what Shadowmancer does is when somebody on your team dies, instead of respawning in your respawn area, they respawn where they died. That can cut out so much movement for the Ogre. He's already there. He doesn't need to, right? Make his way across the map. He's already there. It's amazing. That's just one, in particular, really good synergy for the Ogre. Executioner is another one, because Executioner has the ability that pulls an enemy in, right? So the Ogre doesn't have to go chase him down. The Executioner brings him in. And Executioner is also a frontliner. So Executioner Ogre, Berserker Ogre, throw Shadowmancer in there. You got yourself a team. But again, watch out for CC, or you will have a bad day. But that is Ogre. Probably the most interesting one. I haven't used it a whole lot, but I know there's people in my Discord that really like it. But hey, come join my Discord. We got some good Teamfight Manager talk there. And you know what? If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, come join the Discord. And most importantly, Be good to each other. Have a great day. And I'll see you in the next one.